So my name is Lisa Kramer, and I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma at the age of 27, which was 12 years ago now. I went through 8 months of chemotherapy, relapsed on the anniversary of my initial diagnosis, and then had a couple more months of chemo and finally a bone marrow transplant. And it was really hard. The bone marrow transplant itself was difficult, and I had a lot of medical complications following that. So all in all, I think it was 3 or 4 years that I was out of commission. But I am well now and feeling really good. I have a different perspective on relationships now. There were people who were important to me at the time who remain really important to me today, and there are other people who just couldn't stay with me, and so our relationship has, I guess we've drifted apart, and that's okay. I think that the experience of going through cancer is a part of who I am now, and it's shaped who I am today. It's influenced all of my relationships, and I guess I wouldn't change the relationships. They are what they are. The ones that survived are just so much stronger, and the ones that didn't, those people were important to me at the time, and they're part of my journey. So that's that. One of the things looking back that is kind of surprising to me, at the time that I was in treatment and really close to having gone through all my treatment, I was really in the moment with the experience and could connect instantly with other people who were going through that experience. And several years have gone by now, and I'm not always in that place. I'm not surrounded by other people who are actively in treatment. I'm not constantly talking about being a survivor, and so even though I might from time to time interact with survivors, I don't necessarily know I'm talking to a survivor or a caregiver or somebody who's in the process of losing somebody that they love. But when I find out that I'm talking to another survivor, there's usually an instant connection. I mean, it's easy to go back to that place. And yet, at the same time, when I have, say, an annual checkup, it can be really difficult to go back and remember all the vulnerabilities. And so I've just had a checkup, and it was shocking to me, the wave of emotions coming out of the hospital, just feeling tears well up in my eyes, knowing that I'm well and celebrating that and feeling so lucky and grateful, and yet at the same time having just all those memories wash over me, and going back to that place is really difficult. Okay. So I've noticed today that my voice is a little weary and my emotions are a little delicate, and I'm feeling kind of vulnerable. So thinking about why that might be, it's actually been a hard week. I had a follow-up appointment, a 1-year annual checkup, which went well, which is very reassuring to me, but it brings up all kinds of emotions, memories, and just the sense of that this could all come crashing back at any time. That's very much apparent to me right now. Preparing for the screening of Chasing Rainbows today has been an emotional experience. Lots of feelings come around in my mind with that as well. And a couple of people in my life are dealing with cancer right now. A very close friend, my best friend, her father died just yesterday morning of lymphoma, which is what I had. And a colleague at work, his daughter has just recently been diagnosed with thyroid cancer. So it's still very much around me, and many times in my life I can kind of not think about it, but often I do, and when it all happens at the same time, it can be difficult.
Yeah.
So through my treatment, I was really fortunate that my husband, Mark, was there for me, like a rock, really, and it made all the difference to me. And I worried about him, that I tried to find resources for him, and what I thought he needed wasn't always what he actually needed, and so we would have discussions about that. But you know, we had very different needs, and I needed to talk to people about what I was going through. I needed to find support groups and just surround myself with other people who were going through similar experiences. And he didn't need that so much, and I think he was very understanding, first of all, in but supporting me in finding the support I needed without necessarily taking part in it himself, because it wasn't what he wanted or needed to do. And then simultaneously I had to be supportive of what he needed to do, and that wasn't always easy. I'm remembering one event in particular when I was in the hospital and I was in isolation, which was really difficult for me socially, to not have people around me all the time. I mean, I could have family members in the room with me, but I just was locked in that room 24/7, and just was craving sunlight and fresh air and companionship. And I really, really wanted my husband to spend all his time in the hospital, including sleeping over. I wanted him to take advantage of the facility that the hospital offered, which is you could bring out a cot and your husband could stay in the room with you, and Mark did not want to do that. And that was hard for me to understand. His excuse ultimately was that he needed to go home to do my laundry, which I definitely supported. My laundry needed to be done. But, you know, really what he needed was just to go home and watch a movie or watch TV or play with the cat, or just not think about his wife having cancer for a few minutes. And I'm glad he had the strength to insist on that, even though I'm sure it was hard because I can be very demanding. But on the more positive end of the spectrum, thinking about really good things that can come out of the experience, and I'm saying this a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I remember entering a contest maybe within a year after my bone marrow transplant. The contest was in a cute little store on 4th Avenue in Vancouver called Hope Unlimited. They had a contest. What is the best present anybody has ever given you? And I thought, I can win this contest. I know how to win this contest. So I wrote down on a little piece of paper the story of a day in the hospital when I was feeling very, very low. And Mark came into my room. I was bald, I was vomiting, I was feeling ugly, I was feeling deflated, I felt like I might never get out of the hospital, I might not live. And here my husband walks in, he's got a big smile on his face, wearing a baseball cap, and I'm like, what's up? What is it, Mark? And he takes off his baseball cap, and he had shaved his head bald. And I was just so moved by that, so touched that he would express his solidarity in that way that was so visual. I mean, the whole world could see that he shaved his head. And so I wrote this story on a little piece of paper in the little store in Vancouver and put it in the jar, and about a week later I got the phone call that I had won the contest, that this was the best present anybody had ever given me. And the woman from the store who called, she said, you know, you won hands down. Most of the entries we got were things like, oh, the best present I ever got was when my boyfriend gave me a new car, and you know, material things like that just were not the kind of presents they were talking about. It was much more about the you know, intangible kind.